Alrighty. What's going on, everybody? Hope you all are doing well. We are back again for a new full week of really fun pit percent matches. This week's going to be a packed week. We have 6 matches, 4 of which are win or go home. Pretty much elimination matches in the losers bracket. So it should be a lot of fun, and we're about to get started here with our first one of the week. We've got the 5th seed Phantom versus the 10th seed Reed. This match is going to go either way. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it looks like we are getting off. It should be good in like 10 seconds or so. Sick. Alright. We are off. Should be a lot of fun today, once again. We've got 2 really close competitors. We've got Phantom, who actually just PB'd today. He's been grinding out to get a sub 130, and he finally did it. Got the sub 130 by 11 seconds. Has a 129.49 just before today's stream. And Reed has a 133.16 and improved his PB a lot from when he first entered into the tournament. I think when he first sent the entry in, it was like he had a 144 or something like that, or a 140, and he's already down to, you know, getting closer to the area of sub 130. And it would not surprise me to see him go for some pretty crazy tricks. And this match is, it's so difficult to predict who's going to win later in the tournament, because you just get a higher skill level, and RNG really becomes more and more of a factor. And we'll see that all throughout this week. Just for a bit of a preview, we have this match today. Let me check our tournament schedules. So we have this match today. We were going to have another one. Unfortunately, they had to reschedule. Our next match after this one is going to be Derek and Cats Forever, which is another losers bracket match. That'll be tomorrow. Yeah, I think it's tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. Then we have a match the day after, Thursday, is Soaring Sloth versus TLK. Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then we have a match Saturday, 5 p.m., Castle versus Slop, which is a winner's quarterfinal match. And we have our other winner's quarterfinal match, Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern, Stevie and Teddy. Both of those matches are going to be insane, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Have all of our top 4 seeds in the winners bracket for quarterfinals. It's going to be a really fun week. So we're getting closer to the end of the tournament. The only 2 people who have been eliminated so far is Sonic and TCB Trio. Unfortunately, TCB Trio, I think, game over in his last match, which is always unfortunate. But still, I'm really happy with how the tournament's going so far. We had a total of like 14 entrants, which was like, I think, our most ever. Which is pretty crazy. It's definitely been a little tough for me to keep track of, but as we get closer and closer to the finish, it's gonna get really, really fun. So both runners are just going through prologue right now. Prologue is about 5.5 minutes long, most of which is just mashing. Mashing is pretty much just pressing 1 and 2 as fast as possible. Just alternating 1 and 2. Both runners are on the English version of this game, which there's a lot of different version differences. The fastest version is 1.0 Japanese, where the Japanese version saves a little bit of time on text, I think in any percent it's around 30 to 40 seconds. Pit percent will be a little less than that, but still a decent amount of time save on the Japanese version. And I assume both runners today are going to be on... Well, actually, I could check the boards. I know Phantom's on Wii U, so he's probably got the English Wii U copy. But I think Reed... Yeah, Reed is on a Wii, so he's actually playing on disc right now. And that is another possible time save that we might see today. The disc version does lose a little bit of time to loads. It's not as much as it is in any percent, but it is a pretty significant amount. In any percent, it's around 1.5 to 2 minutes. It's definitely going to be a little less since we don't go through as many loading zones, but it's still probably pretty significant in this category. So both runners got the first pure heart from Merlin, jumped off the left side of the flip side tower, landed right next to the pure heart pillar, and there you go. The first pure heart is in the pillar, and both of our runners are pretty... we're actually having some pretty even prologues right here. They're both making their way into 1-1. Okay, wow, we're like almost tied. Alrighty. Probably like a 2 or 3 second difference there, which is always good to see. Alrighty, so this is pretty much the final cutscene going into 1-1. We'll see a lot of different cutscenes that are very text heavy. But this first level here, 1-1, is actually going to be one of the most important in the entire run. And that is because we're going to see a point grind, which will really determine how your beginning game is going to go, and potentially how your run's going to go into the pit. Ideally, both of these runners are going to want to get anywhere above 25k on points. I think the best you could possibly do is probably like 39k if you don't get a fast flower or a slow flower. So that's obviously best case scenario, but anything lower than 25k might be a little worrisome for these runners. There is a possibility that if you aren't leveled up enough, you can actually soft lock into the pit. You can soft lock in room 25 and potentially room 19 if you get bad RNG. It's pretty crazy that 1-1 of all levels has a significant impact on this run, but it really does. It just determines how runs go, pretty much. So both runners are in Bestovius' house right now. He will basically give Mario the ability to flip into 3D, which is going to be extremely useful all throughout the pit. Mario is going to be the main character that's used through the entire Pit of 100 Trials. The pit is only... basically, the platforms in pit, that you can only stand on them in 2D, but if you flip in 3D, you could fall all the way to the ground, which can be very helpful, and it can also be very annoying, depending on which room layout you're getting. Both of these runners are going to flip in 3D here, pick up a Shell Shock, a Shroom Shake, and in this next room right here, a Fire Burst. The Shell Shock is going to be used, hopefully, on room 89 for some late-game point grinding. And Shroom Shake is obviously just for health, It's very helpful to have. And then the Fire Burst will be used, most likely used in the pre-Chapter 2 cutscene. So we kick this Koopa Shell right here, knocks out a bunch of enemies. It's not uncommon to see some early game item drops. Ooh, unfortunately Phantom wasn't able to make that jump. Phantom will get this item block. Usually if you get this coin block, it tells me that you're probably going for the 1-2 shop, but I have been proven wrong in the past. It's very useful. You can get about 12 coins out of that block. So you never know. Reed is coming up on the point grind here. So here it is. Oh, and he gets a slow flower. That's huge. Okay. So he's going to pick up this slow flower, and yes, he will go very slow. However, his point count is going to be multiplied by 3. You'll see Phantom doing this as well. Obviously, Phantom's going to complete this much faster. But in the end of the day, Reed is going to have a lot more points as long as he does this correctly. Phantom's grind is looking good as well. Both runners having a really good grind. So Phantom's going to end up with 34k, which is very ideal. And Reed is going to end up with 60. Which is also incredibly ideal to have in this early game. You can actually get up to like 90k, I think, with any, if the fire flower, or excuse me, the fast flower or the slow flower. It's just extremely difficult. The slow flower is much easier to control, the fast flower is incredibly unpredictable, but still 2 really good grinds there. We're not going to have to worry about soft locks or anything, which is really nice. So both runners, ideally, are definitely happy about that. So we're finishing up 1-2, or excuse me, 1-1, and we're heading into 1-2. Is this for money? Nah. This is a free-to-enter tournament. It's all just for fun. We've had a couple of these so far. I think we've had one for money in the past, but just didn't do one this year. Maybe in the future, we'll see if we can get some prize pools in. So if you notice, when both runners are walking in 3D, they have a 3D meter at the top left of their screen. It essentially counts down from like 10 seconds, and every 10 seconds you're taking damage. Right before the final 3D meter bar runs out, you can actually see it on Phantom's screen here on the right. He's going to be jumping in midair right before that bar runs out. That way he takes damage in midair and keeps his momentum. If he takes damage on the ground, he'll lose all of his speed and have to regain his momentum. It's just little things like that will go a long way into saving time. So we are getting closer to a major point in the run right here. So Reed, in particular, is known to go for a trick called Life Shroom Jump, which essentially, there's an item in this game called a Life Shroom. If you pick it up and have it in your inventory and you die in midair, you will be able to do a 1-frame jump or a 1-frame flip after you die in midair. I don't know if Reed's going to go for this, because he does have a lot of health. He did it in the first match, but I think he might opt to not go for it this time around. Oh yeah, he's definitely not going for it, because I don't think he has the coins for it. Yeah, just going to go straight to throw. Which, honestly, I don't blame him. It is again, it's a 1-frame trick, so if you miss it a certain amount of times, you'll end up losing time. Which is definitely not good in a tournament with 2 competitors that are this close. Phantom's going to be going in the shop right here. He's currently buying a couple fire bursts and some shroom shakes. The shop is completely optional, but if you have enough coins, this is the cheapest shop in the game, so you can get some extra heals. The fire bursts will help in certain rooms throughout the pit. So definitely a good pickup. On Reed's screen right here, he's actually getting the first pixel of the game. We're only going to get 2 in this run. However, this pixel is pretty useful. This is Thoreau. You can essentially pick up any objects or enemies, as long as they don't have spikes on them. And you can just throw them like that. It is very useful for solving puzzles. You might be able to see this at some points throughout the pit. There is a boomer throw trick, which we're actually going to see before going into the pit, in which throw will be incredibly useful in saving time. Yeah, Reed stuck with the skip for a lot of his runs, which I respect a lot. But obviously, in a tournament setting, again, this is a win or go home type of match. This is a loser's bracket, and Phantom is a really good competitor, so it is a big risk. Obviously, if you get it, you're gonna have a major lead over your opponent, but if you aren't able to get it, you're gonna be just significantly behind your competitor. So I totally respect the decision, pass on it. Reed is currently talking to Old Man Watch It. You have to talk to this guy before being able to talk to the green bridge guard, and after doing so, this is the whole process to essentially drop the green bridge and cross the final gap. So again, the trick I mentioned earlier, life shroom jump, it's also known as GBS. There's other methods of doing it, but it saves, or skips rather, all of this. It skips talking to Watch It, skips talking to this green guy, skips going down to get Thoreau. So it really does save a significant amount of time, 1.5 to 2 minutes, depending on how well you do it. And that will be it for 1-2 for Reed. He'll head into 1-3. And Phantom is not too far behind him. So to answer your question, Trickster, I think for the most part, I've seen all the runners play at least one match throughout this tournament. And I think for level grinding, mostly everyone is going to have the same strategy. The 1-1 grind is obviously incredibly important. And this grind right here that you're actually seeing on Reed's screen, he's going to pick up a fast flower, a couple other items, and just kill these enemies for points. He did get I think a fire burst drop, but he opted not go for it, so it was just too far back. You can get a decent amount of points. I think Reed got 12k there. And leveling up, especially into the pit, in the pit you kill so many enemies, so you're bound to level up. There's certain rooms that are actually well designed for leveling up. For example, 89 has like a total of almost like a good 80 to 100 enemies just in a room. So we're going to kick a shell shock in that room, and it'll just give us a free level up or two. Oh, Reed is actually going for... Oh, he almost got it. Okay. He might... Yeah, he's going to have to do the cutscene. That's unfortunate. So he almost got it the first time. That is a 3D enemy jump. So very precise to do. Unfortunately, Reed ended up bouncing on the enemy again, which killed it. But regardless, both runners are going into the Chunks fight. So this is the first boss fight of the game. And we see a total of 3 boss fights. This one's pretty simple. We're just going to grab him with Thoreau and toss him in this right corner. And attempt to do a couple multi-bounces. So something to note, Reed is actually doing 3 damage to Ochunks, which will make this fight slightly quicker, while Phantom's only doing 2. That is just because of the slow flower that Reed got in 1-1. Phantom still had a very nice fight there. And those stylish moves that you saw Phantom doing, those are done by shaking the Wii Remote after jumping off an enemy's head. So on Reed's screen, we're going to see him go for Ice Churble Skip, or ICS. Sets it up very nicely. Oh, unfortunately, some unfortunate RNG. Oh, that's tough. That Churble was not working with him at all. That's unfortunate. So essentially what you're seeing these runners do, you just saw Phantom do it. It's really difficult to notice, but the Ice Churble actually has... Oh, that's tough. The Ice Churble has a height animation where it just slightly goes up in the air, slightly goes down, and it actually makes a major difference whether or not you make it up to that platform. You need to specifically jump off the Churble at the height of its jump, or at the height of its animation, rather. So you just saw Phantom open a cutscene here, but Reed is actually going to skip it. There's a small platform that you can walk on, which skips that whole opening of the mouth cutscene. It's really, really precise. Almost getting it. There we go. Had a little bit of trouble with it. That's all good. So we're heading into 1-4. Chapter 1 is going to be the only chapter that we fully complete in this run. We will go into Chapter 2, however, we'll only be going into the first level. 1-4, for the most part, is pretty simple, except for this next room that you're going to see Phantom go into. He's going to attempt a trick called Key Early, and essentially there is an out-of-bounds clip in this room. There's a key that's hidden behind a set of brown blocks, and by going out of bounds, doing some really particular maneuvering, which Phantom gets the clip, he's going to jump on this seam while still out of bounds, jump up into the brown blocks, flip back into 2D, and he will pick up that key there. Very nicely done. So that skips the whole process of going into another room, hitting a blue switch, and having those brown blocks moved. It's a really, really crazy trick. So Reed also going for key early. Phantom making his way through 1-4. Reed does get the out-of-bounds clip. Oh, unfortunately, fell out of the left side there. Gonna opt to get the key by hitting the switch. So for the rest of 1-4, essentially every single room that you're going to enter in 1-4 just has a quick little puzzle that you're going to have to solve. And by solving it, you'll unlock the next room. Pretty simple for the most part. And then the final boss of Chapter 1 is Fractale, which is a very large dragon, which we'll actually have to fight twice. There's a clone of the Fractale fight at the end of the pit. Alrighty, so Phantom is about to start the Fractale fight here, and the first thing that you're going to notice is, before we can actually fight Fractale, there is a 40-second cutscene that we literally have to just watch. And normally, you actually see this cutscene 2 more times. However, there's a neat trick. It's actually a really easy trick that we're going to do. Essentially, Fractale will spin in midair, and we're going to jump from his tail back onto his head, which will basically save us 1.5 minutes if we do that 2 times. Alrighty, so Phantom is on Fractale, and there's going to be these little enemies called Frackles that will spawn up here, and you just have to hit the antenna 3 times per cycle. Phantom's gonna... Okay, he does get 1 more spawn. Ideally, you want to spawn in 4 on the first cycle, so you can sort of carry this one and just immediately hit Fractale after this jump right here. A fun thing to note, in like, I don't know if it was a Nintendo Power or if it was like the official game book guide for this game, Nintendo actually mentioned this jump, mentioned that you can actually make this jump, or that it's possible. I guess they hinted to it, which is kind of neat. So it's kind of neat that it was like sort of half intended, if you could figure it out. But very nicely done by Phantom. Alrighty, so Phantom is wrapping up 1-4 with the final cutscene here. And after that, he'll get the second Pure Heart and head back to Flipside. Reed's actually doing the flip strategy, which he actually gets. Very nicely done. And this strat actually saves a very decent amount of time if you get it 2 times. It's really incredibly precise to do. Very nicely done. So that actually saved a lot of time. on Phantom. It wouldn't look like it, but the time that it takes for Frackles to spawn can vary. Um, it's actually a pretty significant time save in 1-4. And it's definitely not an easy trick. It's a very, very precise lineup. Alrighty, so what you're seeing on Phantom screen here is what's essentially known as Enter 2 or Pre-Chapter 2. Um, every time before you enter the next chapter, there's a lot of different tasks and cutscenes that you're going to have to go through. And this is one of the longest enter splits, I think, in the entire game. It's also the only one that we're going to see in this run today. So there is a lot to do. But right now we are playing as Peach in Count Bleck's Castle. It's not apparent at this point, but we're actually traveling through the 8-1 level, which is pretty neat. But essentially we just have to move to a specific spot with Peach and then start another cutscene. Alrighty, so after this cutscene, Phantom will be back in Flipside, and the first thing that you're going to see him do is go down this elevator to his left and go to Merlin's house to start another cutscene. There are tons and tons of cutscenes during this segment, which is unfortunate, but nothing we can do about it. Lots and lots of text mashing. Alrighty, so what you're seeing on Phantom's screen here, essentially this Flipside resident is talking about a girl that fell down and landed in Flipside somewhere, or fell from the sky, rather. And instead of going to help her, we're actually going to go cook food, as you do. But essentially what we're doing here is we picked up a Fireburst back in 1-1 in the very first level of the game, and we're going to cook that Fireburst here and make it into a spicy soup. Essentially, this is some time saved based on prior knowledge, because when we get up to that cutscene, Merlin's going to ask for a spicy soup, so by cooking it here, we save a lot of time on backtracking. Alrighty, so as we come to find out here, that mysterious girl is actually Peach, and by waking her up with the spicy soup, we'll actually have her added into our party as a playable character, which is a really cool thing about this game, honestly. It was definitely one of my favorite things as a kid, the fact that you can play with 4 different characters other than Mario. Unfortunately, though, Peach's abilities, she has 2 abilities. One is with her parasol, she can float across large gaps. And the other, if you duck with her parasol, she'll pretty much become invincible, which is actually really useful. Unfortunately, we're not going to see it too much in this run at all. There's 2 main uses for Peach. One comes in 2-1, and the other comes on the final boss fight after the pit. And the main reason for that, Mario's speed is, or Mario's walking speed rather, is slightly faster, I believe, than Peach. And obviously Mario has the incredibly useful ability to flip into 3D, which is just extremely useful all throughout the pit. He's going to be the main character that we use. Alrighty, so Phantom is out. That is the last cutscene of Enter 2, or the last mashing cutscene, I should say. He's going to open this old gate right here with the old key that Merlin gave us. And by doing that, we actually unlock the area to go put the Chapter 2 Pure Heart in the Pillar. So Phantom's actually going to do a trick here with one of these squiglets. Going to line up. You can do this while running, but there is an alignment for it, as you saw there. Essentially, if you line up at a very specific point, you could toss that squiglet onto the ledge, jump off of it, and get up to the Pure Heart Pillar. That skips going to the left in this room and using Peach to fly across. So some pretty good time save there. And that is going to do it for the Enter 2 cutscene. The Chapter 2 door opens up, and we are heading into 2-1. So we are getting closer and closer to the pit. It's almost time. This is the last level that we're going to go into. And we could technically enter the pit at this point. While we were traveling to put the Chapter 2 Pure Heart in the pillar, there is a corner clip that you can do to... because there's blocks that are on top of a pipe. If you corner clip into that, you can enter the pipe, and you could technically enter the pit early at this point in the game. However, the main thing, obviously we are, even with getting a fast flower or a slow flower, we are still incredibly underleveled going into the pit than what the game intends us to be. And specifically, there is a pixel in 2-1 called Boomer, who is pretty much a bomb we can place anywhere, blow up a bunch of enemies. He's like the most useful pixel in this entire run. And if we don't get Boomer, there is actually a lot more areas we could soft lock. There's certain enemies in the entire pit that have to be killed with Boomer. So yeah. Yeah, the goal of Pit Percent is to beat the Pit of 100 Trials, which consists of going through all 100 rooms and defeating Racktail, getting Dashel, and then the final time is after exiting the pipe to go back to Flipside. which we are actually coming up on the start of the pit here very soon. On Phantom's screen, you're going to see a trick called the Goomba Jump. He'll actually, yeah, he's going to opt to go for the 3D flip. This is the alternate method. Essentially, just line yourself up in 3D and jump on top of this platform. It's actually like a crazy oversight from the devs. There's a faster way of doing it with a Goomba jump, but unfortunately, Phantom got stuck on a block there, so he didn't have the right timing for it. Alrighty, so the rest of 2-1 is essentially just progressing through the level and going to get Boomer. Something to mention here, we're in a room with a lot of enemies, and we'll definitely see this throughout the pit, but item drops are extremely useful all throughout this run. We're definitely going to see tons of different item drops, just because of the amount of enemies we're going to be killing. And there's certain items, one of which just dropped right there on Phantom's screen, a Fire Burst, that are extremely helpful. Fire Burst is helpful for room 21 and the final fight, Racktail. So that's a pretty nice drop there. There's other items to look out for, like an Ice Storm or a Thunder Rage will help out in room 98 towards the end of the pit. And other than that, probably the most important item drops you can get are heals. Just because, especially in a tournament setting, the pit can be very unpredictable. So the more heals you have, the safer you are in the pit. So this is Boomer. This is the second and final pixel we're getting. Actually, technically it's not true. We will get one more at the end of the pit, but this is definitely the most important pixel in this run. And he also has like the longest dialogue of any pixel in the game, so that's awesome. But after this cutscene, Phantom will use the return pipe, head back to Flipside, and we are gonna get to it. Alrighty. So if I had to guess, okay. If I had to guess, I think Reed is probably like around a minute behind, maybe a little more. But a decent minute, which is actually, it might seem pretty bad, but it's actually not that bad. The pit has an incredible amount of RNG, and even if you're like 5 minutes behind your opponent going into the pit, you can still win the match. It's really, you can see RNG that's like that crazy. Basically, every single room that we're going to enter into the pit has a specific enemy with a key. We have to find that enemy, collect the key, and then leave the room and go to the next floor. And this trick right here is a sort of recent trick. It's actually been around for a bit, but by placing down Boomer, switching to throw, and grabbing Boomer, tossing up on the ledge, we can actually get into the pit a little earlier than intended, and this actually saves a decent amount of time, and Phantom is on his way into the pit. So, it's a very nice key right off the bat there. A lot of things to mention. I already talked about the RNG elements in the pit. There's a couple more RNG elements. Obviously, each room is going to have a certain amount of enemies. One of them has the key. The goal for runners is to just kill as many enemies as fast as possible, find the key, and get out of the room. And certain RNG elements include which enemy has the key, obviously. Any item drops are all RNG. The entry and exit door locations have They have common locations, however, um, they are still RNG. You sort of have to react to where you spawn into a room and where the exit door is. And then certain enemy locations are also RNG. The one thing that stays consistent throughout the entire pit is actually the room layouts. So every time you enter room 4, you're going to see the exact same layout. Every time you enter room 5, you'll see the exact same layout, which can actually be very helpful because you can sort of, if you really wanted to, you can actually memorize the entire pit layouts, even though that's a lot of memorization to do. But there's some really cool, useful tools like the Agurmi's Pit Viewer, where you can sort of see the layouts of each room, and you can sort of plan out how you want to play each room, what your strats are going to be, depending on where you spawn in. Reed is in the pit on room 1. Manta is still in the first 10 rooms. I'll give an update. I think this is room like 5 or 6 or something like that. Phantom did have a couple rooms that were last keys, which are really unfortunate to have in the first couple of rooms. So yeah, he's in room 6. Reed is in room 2, so they're actually only 4 rooms apart, which, again, it might seem like a lot, but that can change in an instant. So here we go. The first 10 rooms in particular are going to see some pretty basic enemies. They're all really easy to kill, either 1 or 2 hits. And as the pit goes on, you will see sort of a slow progression to way more difficult enemies. Reed just did a lock jump there, which is really cool. The lock in 3D actually has geometry that you can land on. So if you're above it in 2D, you can actually flip into 3D, land on it, flip back into 2D. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Reed actually utilizing Thoreau there, which is really cool to see. So on Phantom screen, you'll notice any poison enemies that you kill will actually, unless they have the key, they'll actually very often will drop an item, and they actually drop healing items, which is incredibly useful. Phantom is done with the first 10 rooms, heading into room 11. Both runners are at 60k. Phantom hit 60k a little bit ago. Reed got a slow flower and hit 60k right off the bat in 1-1, which is really nice. Phantom unfortunately going to have to wait for this enemy to walk over. This is one of those rooms, really the first case scenario you see where room layout can honestly screw you over at times, depending on, if you get a last key and you either have to wait for an enemy or you have to walk all the way around in a room to go kill an enemy. It can be really unfortunate and lose a lot of time. Also, a good way for, if anyone hasn't watched the pit before, a good way to keep track. Okay, 2 really good heals for both runners there. That's very nice. But a good way to keep track of room timings, if you look at the top right corner of both runners' screens, you'll actually see a timer. Every time you enter a room, that timer will count down from 5 minutes. Technically, if you were to let it hit 0, you would actually game over, which is pretty funny, but we will not see that happen. Dear God, I hope we don't see that happen. It's a very, very lenient timer, so you'll never see it get down to any lower than like 3 minutes or so. But you can actually keep track of that timer, and depending on what time you leave the room, you can sort of tell how well or how bad the room went. For example, Phantom left that room at 4:44, which is about a good 16-second room. That's pretty decent. It's not the best, but it's also not the worst. And obviously, timings will change depending on which room you're in. Some rooms are much shorter, some rooms are longer. It really all depends. So Reed's actually using Thoreau, which is actually like a really good strat for these Koopas. Because you can just throw them into pretty much throw them into one another, and then you can get the key pretty quickly. There we saw a 9-second room from Phantom. Anytime you see a room that's like under 10 seconds, that's how you know you had a really good room there. Okay, so maybe I'm wrong about the boomer thing. Thoreau is looking to be very OP on Reed's end, and killing a lot of these enemies early on. Ooh, gets the key. Gets a first key in this room, which is very nice. These rooms have schlurps on Reed's screen, and essentially those enemies, you have to feed Boomer to them. They lose a lot of time compared to just normal enemies that you kill. So a pretty nice key. Another really nice key there. Phantom is out of 17 going into 18. I'll give a quick room check for Reed. Reed should be in 15. Okay, so he's actually not too far behind. He's actually keeping up very well with Phantom right now. A couple neat things to notice. On Phantom's screen, you actually saw him kick a Buzzy Beetle. Something very interesting about Buzzy Beetles is that they will actually not despawn off screen. It's the only shell that doesn't do that. So you could kick a Buzzy Beetle shell, stay in 2D, and you won't have to worry about it despawning. It can just wipe out an entire floor of enemies. This room right here on Phantom's screen, this is room 19. There's one enemy in this room, the Koopa Troll. It's the silver enemy on the second floor there. If that enemy does have the key, which it looks like it might, I think there's one more enemy up here. Oh, that's clutch. Okay. So, that Koopa Troll takes like 7 hits with Boomer to kill. That would have lost a lot of time for Phantom, so a very clutch key there. Not having to worry about getting Koopa Trolled early on, which is good to see. Room 21 here for Phantom. He's going to use one of the Fire Burst drops that he got. This is the room to use Fire Burst, pretty much. And it will insta-kill these enemies here. And Reed is keeping up with Phantom. He's actually in the Koopa Troll room as well. Only a couple rooms behind. Ooh, okay. So something to note here. That first shell that Reed kicked, he's actually gonna... Looks like he's opting to kill the Koopa Troll right away. That first shell that Reed kicked had... or well, if it did have the key, rather, it despawned off screen. Which, that basically means if a shell despawns, that you will have to wipe out an entire floor of enemies, which is looking to be the case. Either it's just this squig right here, or that shell that despawned had it. Yeah, okay, so you're gonna see... Is there one more enemy in here? Maybe on the first... Okay, yeah. Alright, that enemy had the key. Okay. So, that enemy that despawned, if an enemy despawns and it has the key, you have to clear out the entire room, and the key will just spawn in front of the door. Which is a little unfortunate at times, especially in rooms like that. So Reed does not have the Fire Burst that Phantom had. We'll have to... Each of these enemies pretty much takes 2 hits with Boomer. So this room that Phantom's in right here, this is room 25. This is the other soft block room that was mentioned earlier. If you don't have 60k here, you won't be able to kill this enemy. Same with the Koopa Troll. So that is why the 1-1 grind is just so important in this run. A really nice key for Reed there in the Boo room. Phantom is in the first Daisy room. Daisies are incredibly irritating. Have a really annoying projectile, which will basically make Mario fall asleep. And you can take a lot of damage from these enemies very quickly. Another really nice key there for Reed. He's actually gaining a couple rooms here on Phantom, as Phantom is having some trouble with the Daisy room here. Yeah, it looks like Phantom's getting the last key here. Does another lock jump there, though. Very nice. Do a quick room check here. Phantom is heading into room 27. This is just a bunch of squiglets. Reed is in 25, so 2 rooms behind here. Phantom does get a pretty decent key for this room. I'll move out. Still a 2-room difference here. These Hammer Bros on Phantom's screen, if they spawn on the very top level, which is pretty common throughout this run, they are very irritating to deal with because they will they'll toss hammer projectiles down from the ceiling, and they will not like despawn or anything. They will just fly down, even if you're on the very bottom level, and just hit you when you're not looking. That was a really good door spawn for Phantom right there in that room. Usually that door spawn can screw you over with the Jawbus, or the Rawbus rather, being in weird spots at times, but that worked out really well for Phantom. So he is on, well, he was on a Tyloid room, but he had a really good key once again. Very nice. Something definitely to keep track of is level ups. Phantom's on 32, Reed is on 28. Phantom with another really good key there. That room in particular with the Longators is, that can take a while. Yeah, but level ups are going to be incredibly important. Reed's level is actually higher than Phantom's because of the 1-1 grind. Phantom's next level up is going to be 90k. Reed's next level up will be 120k. So essentially a level up will fill up your entire health, potentially increase it as well, or increase the total. But it's really important to keep track of because ideally you don't want to use heals if you're very close to a level up, because it would just be technically classified as a waste of heal, unless you really need to use it, like you're going to die. Reed is going to head into 31. Phantom's having a really good 30s right now, and is actually gaining a little bit on Reed. These first couple of rooms in the 30s have a lot of different enemies, and they could take a while. Alright, so Reed is on 32. Unfortunately, Phantom had a last key there at about a 30-second room. Lost a little bit of time there. So Reed is on the Elongator room. Phantom is on this room with some Buzzy Beetles and some Squiglets. Reed gets a very nice first key there in that room. Cursias are pretty easy to kill all throughout this run. If you flip into 3D, they'll actually fall to the ground. There's tons of enemies that do that, and it's really incredibly useful. Phantom has a 3-second room there in a Magikoopa room. So Magikoopas are really annoying to deal with because their projectiles in particular are just incredibly annoying. They do 3 damage, and even if you kill the Magikoopas very quickly, their projectiles are likely to stay spawned in, rather. So that was a really nice room. So Phantom is done with the 30s. Actually, probably had a really good 30 split right there. Into 41. These enemies that you see right here are Clubbas. They are incredibly annoying, except when they drop meat. That's cool. But yeah, they will do 3 damage. If you aren't careful, they will rack up a lot of damage to you. So that's something that Phantom is going to have to be careful about. They're a little difficult, or tedious rather, to kill in an open space, but as you saw, if you get them under a low ceiling, you can pretty much jump into them from behind and kill them really quickly. A really good key for Phantom there once again. Having some really good RNG here. But again, that could all change in an instant. The RNG in this run, I can't say for sure, but it seems to sort of come in waves. Like, it comes and goes every now and then. So you can have really, really good strings of RNG, but you can also then have really, really bad strings of RNG, rather. Reed does get a first key in this Magic Cooper room as well. So some really good RNG here early on. And again, the further we go into the pit, the more difficult the enemies are going to become. Reed is close to a level up here. He should get it with the next couple of enemies that he kills. He is at 5 HP, but he's going to wait and not bother to use a heal. Because if he hits 120k, he can level up, and then that'll refill the health, and then saves him a heal. I also have not been keeping track of which runners have which heals. I know Phantom has a decent amount because of going to the shop in early game. Okay, so this room for Reed is really, really tedious. He's going to have to kill one more enemy here. Takes a little bit of damage, he does get it. Very nice. Really, really close call. Obviously, those enemies do 3 damage, so if he got hit one more time, would have been killed. Phantom got I believe that was a hot sauce drop, which is actually a pretty nice drop to get. A hot sauce or a mighty tonic will double your attack damage, and depending on what room you use it in, specifically later in the game, you will save a lot of time, potentially. So something neat you just saw there with Phantom's run, or on Phantom's screen rather. Those enemies that have dotted outlines around them will basically flip into 3D with Mario. And you can sort of abuse that. You can, by flipping into 3D, you can have all the enemies fall down to the bottom floor, which is really, really helpful. Phantom's on the Cherble room right here. Reed just finished up the Koopa Striker room. Heading into 44, another heal drop there for Phantom. So Reed is in 44. Phantom should be towards the end of the 40s, actually. He should be on 48, I think. Okay, this is 48. And gets a first key in this room. That is unbelievable. That is crazy. So anytime you get a first key on a Clubba room is that is really good RNG. The Clubba rooms, especially Clubbas and Magiblots, that room can easily, if you get bad RNG, take up to a minute. That's really going to be useful for Phantom. Oh, Phantom gets a Thunder Rage. He's definitely going to keep this. Yeah, going to drop one of the... Oh, changed his mind. He's probably going to drop... Yeah, he'll just drop one of the items. So Phantom is heading into 51. 51 actually has a miniature point grind that you'll see here. Essentially, Phantom is going to kick a Buzzy Beetle shell, and since they don't despawn off screen, he's just going to let it hit an entire bottom floor of enemies right there. And by doing that, you can actually gain a decent amount of points. Opted to blow up the shell there earlier, though. But it does get the key, and we'll eventually get out of 51 here. Do a quick room check. Phantom's going into 52, which is Pig-a-Rhythms. Reed is in 48 with Magic Koopas and Clubbas. Reed also gets a first key in this room, which is huge. So really good RNG for both runners in this room, which is pretty interesting because technically Reed is not losing too much time in that room, if any at all, compared to Phantom, which usually you don't see. Usually it's, you know, one runner gets really good RNG, the other doesn't. Reed's going to opt to use a heal here just to be absolutely safe. He's got a ways to go before the next level up, I think, is 160, I think is the next one. Phantom gets a nice key here. Reed is going to be heading into 51. Phantom's in 54. Another Clubber room with Dry Bones. This one is not too bad, but the Dry Bones can be a little unpredictable at times. Oh, we got an Ice Storm. He's going to opt to use a heal here and keep the Ice Storm, which might be ideal. There's tons of different opportunities you have to use these different item drops all throughout different rooms. For the Ice Storm and Thunder Rage, you're definitely going to want to use one of those on room 98. That is where it saves a decent amount of time. Really good key there for Phantom. Reed is still keeping up with Phantom, though. So this run could change at any point. But Phantom is continuing to get some really good RNG and is obviously playing well, as is Reed. Reed's going to use the Long Last Shake, which has a little bit of a longer cutscene, but it's pretty useful because you sort of refill health over time. So you don't really have to, you know, you can regain health slowly, but eventually you will get a good, like, 15 HP, I think, from it. I don't know if that's right or not. Alrighty. Do another room check here. Phantom, I don't know what his pace is like. He's on a decent run right now. This room, though, is painful, but it's not, actually, because you got a first key. So, there goes the Amazing Daisy room. Man, Phantom is having some really nice RNG. I don't know, obviously, he just got a new PB today. I don't know exactly what his pace is, but it should be pretty good. If the RNG keeps up, for sure. So Magiblot's here. I didn't even talk about Amazing Daisies. Obviously, the Daisies room is really annoying because you can get hit and fall asleep from projectiles. However, the Amazing Daisy in particular, which is the gold one, does like 10 damage if you get hit from that music note, which is really, really scary. And the enemy's also really difficult to kill. Alrighty, Phantom gets a nice key on the boombox room. Reed with a first key on this room with some springs. So Phantom is on 62. Reed should be getting close to 58, I believe. Oh, is on 58, okay. So still like a good 3 to 4 room difference. Okay, Reed actually gets a very nice key as well on that room. Phantom's going to heal here. So he is on a room with some dry bones as well as dark booze. Dark booze will pretty much travel towards you in 3D and then spawn in 2D. Reed with another very nice key. And is actually going to be gaining a couple rooms here on Phantom, potentially. Phantom's on 63, Reed's going to be on 61, so we'll have a 2-room difference here. Phantom's on the Clubba room, Clubba and Boomerang Bros. This room can be pretty intense. And Reed gets another really nice key, as Phantom is still working on 63. Reed's only going to be 1 room behind on 62, so definitely caught up. 1 room away, pretty much at this point. Just waiting for the Dark Boost to spawn here. Phantom is getting some unfortunate RNG in this Clubber room. Might actually have a last key here, we'll see. Well, I think he definitely does. Yeah, just this Boomerang Bro right here. That's tough. Yeah, so that is how much time a last key can lose you. And they will stay about 1 room apart. This race is getting very close and very intense as we get into the later stage of the pit. So Reed is in that same room. Phantom, however, gets a first key right off the bat. Reed's going to use a heal. He is close to a level up at 160k. He should get it. Reed saves so much time on Phantom, though, getting a 2nd key in this room. That is an incredible time save compared to Phantom's room there. So Phantom wiping out these enemies here. Reed dealing with the Tyloids. So Phantom is on 66. Does get another really nice key. The RNG is sort of making up for itself after that really tough last key room. Again, you can sort of see how the RNG just, it comes in waves. It's really good and then it's really bad. This room in particular that Phantom's in, there are a lot of different enemies that take a long time to kill here in this Elongator room. Really good key there from Reed. Phantom, still working on these enemies here, is going to have to flip into 3D and go to the other side of this room. Reed is just 1 room behind him, I believe. Yeah, I think Phantom's on 67. Reed's dealing with these ninjas, but he is going to get out, hopefully. Does have the key. Phantom also has the key. I believe for maybe a split second we'll be in the same room. Literally like a couple frames, but hey, it is getting closer. So Phantom is just 1 room ahead. Gets a first key. Really nice. If Reed can get a key on this side of the room, if the enemy has the key here, and he doesn't have to flip, that's going to save a lot of time on Phantom. I think he's got... Nah, he'll definitely have to flip here. Phantom gets a good key. So, some unfortunate RNG for the, both runners on these rooms right here with the Elongators. Koopa Strikers right here. These Koopa Strikers in particular will do 5 damage. They are pretty dangerous. Okay, takes a little bit of damage there. That Koopa Striker up top looked like it just kicked the shell at one of the other Koopa Strikers for, like, no reason. It's pretty brutal. Reed with a very good key, and is going to be catching right back up. And they will be in the same room, I think, for, like, a split second again. So it's getting closer. Phantom will go through 70 here. He will talk to Flim, does get the Flim spawn. Okay, Reed does get a good key there. Will make his way up to the top, find the door. So Phantom is in 71. I didn't catch if Phantom bought anything from Flim. Flim can randomly spawn in any of the 10 rooms, so like 70, 80, 90, you know, those type of rooms. And he could sell some pretty useful items, like if you don't have a Thunder Rage or Ice Storm, you can likely get it from him. They are in the same exact room, though, right now. Phantom does have the key, so we will head out of the room. But this race is getting very, very close now. This is extremely intense. So Phantom is just one room ahead. Going to be taking out these Jawbuses right here. And Reed, unfortunately, looks like he got a last key in this room. Yeah, again, this is a loser's final match. Or, well, not a loser's final, but a loser's round 2. Essentially meaning that whoever loses will be out of the tournament. And whoever wins will move on. So this is extremely intense. And Reed actually got a really nice key there. They'll be in the same room. Phantom does have the key. Making his way to the door. You're going to see Reed flipping 3D here to have all these enemies drop to the ground. Phantom is just going to be one room ahead as Reed continues to find this key. These Curseus can be a little irritating. Phantom gets a very nice key off the start here. But Reed is right behind him. Looks like Phantom might have wanted to kill a couple more enemies for some points. But Phantom is in the Rough Puff room right now. This room can be really dangerous, so these projectiles will do 4 damage. It's actually better to take body damage from Rough Puffs, because it only does 2 damage. But, you know, you can just... It's really difficult to control that. Because they are... the projectiles will pretty much fly through anything. Gets a long shake, opts to not pick it up. Barely dodging another projectile there. It was like Matrix type of shit right there. That's crazy. Okay, Reed does get that key. A bit of an unfortunate room there. But also an unfortunate room for Phantom, where he is getting a last key here in this Rough Puff room, and will be exiting pretty much as Reed is entering. So if Reed gets a good key, which he does, they're going to be relatively tied here. So Phantom's going to have a little bit of a lead going into this room, but again, the RNG, it was favoring Phantom early on, but it is absolutely favoring Reed here, helping him get back into this race. Some more boomboxers here. It's really about who gets the key first, and Reed has it, and looks like he will take the lead. So Reed has come all the way back from down almost by like a minute and a half before the pit, and is actually in the lead right now. As Phantom does end up getting this key here. We will be in a room with some more Magiblots, just waiting for them to spawn in here in this corner. And again, we are in the same room. Once again, Phantom does get the key. Reed gets the key as well. Reed's going to exit just like 1 second before Phantom. Phantom did catch up a little bit there. Still incredibly close. Now, this room is huge. Reed actually gets a door on the bottom floor, which is... Okay, Phantom does get the key, so it doesn't matter too much, but Phantom will be losing... Oh, never mind. Doors on the bottom of the floor for Phantom, too. That's good. So if you get a door up top there in that room, you can sometimes get screwed over with just based on room layout. So this room right here is 79. Reed gets the key nearly immediately. He's going to flip, pick it up, and head to the door. Phantom is still working on finding this key, though. So Reed is going to be heading into 81 here. Phantom does get the key, so he's not too far behind. Phantom will have to, has an unfortunate door spawn. He's actually going to have to travel into 2D to get to this door, but it's good game knowledge by Phantom to know to do that instead of just heading over in 3D. A really good key there, a Pig-a-Rhythm key there for Reed, which is really, really good. So Reed will be one room ahead right here. Phantom's still looking to find this key. Reed is in a Magiblot room. Just going to wait for them to spawn in. Gets a nice level up right there. Gets the key and is going to be out relatively quickly. And we'll actually have a 2-room lead here. Not for long though. Phantom does get the key, so they'll be 1 room apart once again. But again, this is an incredibly close match. This is still anyone's game. We've seen Reed come all the way back. Oh, Phantom gets a really good key there. Reed does get the key. They'll be in the same room for like a split second once again. But Reed will be heading out of 83 into 84. Phantom is in 83, just 1 room behind. More Spanias right here. This room is huge. If Reed can get a Spania key here and not have to deal with these Schlurps, Schlurps in this room will take 2 hits with Boomer. Phantom, oh, he does get a Spania key. That's huge. Okay. So Phantom is also going to need the same luck here in 84. Those Schlurps will take, you have to feed Boomer to them basically 2 times in a row before they will die, which can lose a lot of time. Phantom is down to 2 HP, but he's very close. He gets a first key. That's extremely helpful. Reed gets a heal drop there. Speaking of heal, Phantom is probably going to do that here with the Horsetail. He's incredibly close to the level up at 200k, so he should get in this next room. Reed looks to have it looked like he had a really good Dark Boo room there. And Reed is going to use, he's actually going to use the Thunder Rage here. And it will definitely kill the Magic Koopas there. These Koopa Trolls are still 1 hit though, so that definitely helped out. Phantom does get that level up, does get poisoned, however. Gets a Turtley Leaf drop. So this room that Reed is in is really, really, it can lose you a lot of time. These Koopa Trolls still take a while, even at a high attack level. Phantom, though, is just having a really tough time on this room, trying to kill these poison Pokies here. Same with Dark Boos. Unfortunate key for Reed as well. Phantom might be able to save some time if he can get this key right here. Which unfortunately does not. It's literally that Dark Boo that just spawned in next to him. That's unfortunate. Just gonna wait for him to spawn back. But Reed still does not have the key in this room. Phantom will be in the same room. Reed unfortunately had a last key. Has a 1 and 10 second room there. And Phantom is gonna use this Hot Sauce, which is actually a really good decision. Hot Sauce will double your attack, and he is able to 1-hit these Koopa Trolls right here. It does only last for a short amount of time. Twitch is having a moment at like the worst possible time. Okay, there we go. Reed gets the key in the next room. He will be 2 rooms ahead here. Phantom, unfortunately, having some tough RNG. Same thing that Reed had happened to him. Reed is on 88. And again, it's not over. The 90s can also be really, really incredibly difficult. Phantom's taking a little bit of damage here. Reed is at 8 health, but he does have some heals. Same with Phantom. And he will get out, go in 89. Yeah, two really tough 86s there. That's unfortunate. So Reed is going to be going in 89. He's going to get on the 3rd level right here and kick the Shell Shock. And this will give him a free level up. Pretty much by following this thing to the left wall, flipping, right after it hits, Reed will find the key, and will also get a free level up. Very nicely done. So Reed is actually ahead by a decent amount here. Phantom is in 88. Reed is going to be heading into 91. Reed has come all the way back, but Phantom is not done yet. He gets a first key in 88 and is going to be heading into 89 to also get a much-needed level up and get his health back up to where he needs it to be. If he can get up there, though, he's being edge-guarded, actually being edge-guarded right now by these enemies. Okay. Reed does get the key. I believe that room there was just 2 Jobbuses. So Phantom will also, he gets a first key and an egg. Okay, nice. He gets the level up. Gets another heal as well. Gonna pick that up and we'll head into 91. Reed is in 92 right now. Dealing with ninjas. Does get the key though. So Phantom will be 1 room behind for a split second, but Reed will be heading into 93. Yeah, we are looking, the 90s can be so unpredictable. Unfortunately, this is just such a tough spawn, but Reed gets a first key. Phantom with a really difficult spawn here with these Jobbuses. And Reed is out. Heading into 94. Wow, yeah, Phantom's actually going to have to kill this enemy too. That's unfortunate. So Reed is in 94. Has a significant lead. Gets another really nice key there. That is incredible. And unfortunately, does have a bad floor layout, so we'll have to walk all the way around. But Phantom is dealing with these ninjas right here. Does get the key. It's a good sign of life. So this room, 95 and 96, is really... I think this is going to call it. If Reed gets 2 really good keys in this room, I think it might be it. There are an incredible amount of enemies in this room. And this room is just, incredibly unpredictable. But unfortunately, it's not looking too good for Reed. Looking to place Boomer here. Phantom does get the key. He's only going to be 1 room behind, I believe. 95 is not treating Reed well. Phantom is in 94. If Phantom can get a good key... Okay, so Reed does have a pretty tough room there. Phantom does get this key. He's going to head to the top floor, and he will be in 95. Reed is in 96. If Phantom has... I think if Phantom wants any chance of winning it, it's got to be right here. He's going to use the Ice Storm. And use the Ice Storm right here. That's another thing. I don't know if Reed has an item for 98. I assume he does. But he did use the Thunder Rage, so if he doesn't have another Ice Storm, he does end up getting the key there. Twitch is still having a moment. Okay, there we go. Got a nice heal drop. Opt to not pick it up. 97. Hardest room in the game. As per usual. Phantom is still working on 95. Okay, does get the key. It was faster than Reed's room. Reed does have a little bit of an unfortunate door spawn, though. I will have to take the pipe. It's not going to be too much of a time loss. But it's really going to come down to, I think, does Reed have the item for 98? I think he does. Oh, no. No, he definitely doesn't. Oh, he's going to use... Okay, this might be huge. This might be huge. So, these red chomps take 4 hits with Boomer. Now, Phantom, I believe, has an item, either an Ice Storm or a Thunder Rage, which will wipe out 3 of these at once. Phantom gets the key for 97, and they are going to be in the same room. Reed does get the key, but if Phantom has... I think he has the item. Reed is having a tough time getting to this door. He does have the Thunder Rage. If he gets this key right here, we might see a really, really close race. And he does, and he's going to be out. This is literally like a 1-second difference. 2 seconds even. Okay, we're going into 99. It's literally just like 1,000 Magiblots. It's whoever gets the key first and gets to the door. This is insane. This is actual insanity. Phantom gets the key and he's gonna be out! Oh my god! Wow! Dude, what a comeback. Okay, it's definitely not over yet. Reed is still gonna be working on finding this Magiblot key. Just trying to get them spawned in a corner. He's getting some tough RNG here. Okay, does get the key, he'll be out. So this is like a good 15-second difference. I want to say that's a good 15-second difference. That's just my estimation, but this is the Ragtail fight. So Ragtail is pretty much a carbon copy of Fractail. However, Ragtail will do much more damage to you. You can take 10 damage or 5 damage all throughout this fight. But the main thing that we're going to see, I think Phantom... Yeah, it's never over. You never know. You can always fall off Ragtail, and that's it. But I think both runners actually have Fire Burst to use here, which will be a very big time save. Yeah, Reed's going to heal right off the bat, which is a good decision. God, what a match. Regardless of how this finishes, what a match. GG's to both of these runners. Phantom is going to be jumping on Ragtail right here. Reed is a good, like, 15-20 seconds behind. Gonna switch to Peace. Yeah. Okay, Phantom has 2 Fire Bursts, so he's gonna use 2 Fire Bursts here. And Fire Burst will do 10 hits to Ragtail. We'll get another, or excuse me, 5 hits each. 2 equals 10. You get it. Okay, Reed is also starting the fight. Phantom just needs to get these two jumps with Peach, and that's it. So he gets the first one here. Fortunately, I don't think Reed has a... Oh, he's gonna go for the 3D jump. I don't know if it'll make a difference, because Phantom is on the final jump here. And that looks like it will do it. Unfortunately, I don't think Reed got that jump there at the end. But still, just a great race by both runners. We saw... Okay, Reed's down to 2 health. Yeah, the projectiles here can do a lot of damage. I think a total of like 10 damage. It's crazy. GG's. Oh, that's unfortunate. GG's to both runners, man. That was such a good match all the way to the end. Just a crazy comeback. Lead changes all over the place. Man, that was incredible. And that's what I've been saying, man. We're getting to the point where these matches are going to be so much fun to watch. So Phantom going to exit out of the pit at a final time of 1:32.48. His timer had the exact same thing. Okay, good. GG's. That was huge. That was crazy. Yeah, that was the race of the tournament so far. That was the closest match. Reed came all the way back. That was incredible. Just a last... that was really unbelievable. Yeah, the Thunder Rage was huge. That is huge. You always got to keep an item for 98. That's crazy, man. I am just in shock. My brain's just been on autopilot for the last, like, 60 rooms there. So that's crazy. So GG's once again. Congratulations to Phantom. Phantom will move on to the next round. Losers round 3. And unfortunately, Reed, that will be it for Reed in this tournament. But huge GG's. We saw some great improvement from Reed throughout this entire tournament. Starting off from pretty much, I think just started running this game a couple, like a month or two ago, which is really, really impressive to get to that level. Yeah, we saw some really, really good luck and some really, really bad luck. It was a very big mix of both. Yeah, it's 86 it's tough, man. It's so tough. So huge GG's. And yeah, that is going to do it today. So Phantom will move on. Phantom will play the winner of Cats versus Derek, which we will actually see, I believe, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. So we'll be back here live again tomorrow. We got matches all throughout this week. We got a match tomorrow, Thursday night. We've got a match Sunday afternoon, Saturday afternoon. So we've got a full week of SPM Pit. Should be a lot of fun. Thank you, everyone, for watching. A big shout out to both of our runners. Be sure to give both of them a follow. That was absolutely incredible once again. And yeah, that's gonna do it. So I think with that, we're gonna call it. Phantom, if you want to keep streaming, just let me know. I'll raid you. If you're going offline, that's cool too. No worries. Just give me a heads up. But yeah, dude. Actual match of the tournament. That's crazy. That is so cool. Alrighty. So some more big matches tomorrow. Okay, cool. Alrighty. Alright, we are going to raid Phantom. Be sure to give him and Reed a follow. Two really great runners in SPM. Reed's also a really great streamer. Doing SPM every now and then. And Phantom has been grinding for the sub 130. Got it today. And got the win. A crazy win on this match. Hey, thank you guys. This is a lot of fun. I enjoy doing these. So yeah. We're going to go raid Phantom. Be sure to give him a follow. Thank you guys. We'll be back again tomorrow. And yeah, I will see you all then. Take care. Have a great rest of your night. Peace.